Hello there, thrill seekers. I'm going to return once again, as I have several times, to one of my favorite passages in Shobo Genzo. It's chapter 4 in book 1 if you're reading the Nishijima Cross translation, and I'll show you where you can find it in some other translations later in the video. Ika no Myoju, did I say that already? One bright pearl, aka one bright jewel, as Shohaku Okumura says in an article I was reading recently. He says the pearl in question is actually one of the jewels in Indra's net. And you can go look up Indra's net because that's not the part of the thing that I want to concentrate on today. Anyhow, the standard translation is one bright pearl, so that's probably why Nishijima and Cross decided on one bright pearl, not to just confuse everyone. Anyhow, let's read the beginning. In this Saha world, which is the world we live in the great kingdom of Sung, that's China in Fuzhou province, at Genzazan temple, there lived the great master Shi Itsu, whose dharma name as a monk was Shibi and whose secular name was Sha. That's the way these things start, and let's just call the guy Gensa. That's how Nishijima Roshi refers to him in the rest of the piece. So we're talking about a guy named Gensa. While still a layman, he loved fishing, and he would float down the Nantai River on his boat, following the other fishermen. It may have been that he was not waiting even for the fish with the golden scales that lands itself without being fished. That means, according to the footnote, even as a layman, Master Gensa led a relaxed and peaceful life without worrying about the results of his efforts. At the beginning of the Kansu era of the Tang dynasty, suddenly he desires to leave secular society. He leaves his boat and enters the mountains. He is already 30 years old, but he has realized the precariousness of the floating world and has recognized the nobility of the Buddha way. At last he climbs Seppozan mountain and enters the order of Great Master Shinkaku. Let's call him Seppo, because I think that's what he gets called later on. Yeah, okay. Blah, 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 blah. And pursues the truth day and night. One day, in order to explore widely the surrounding districts, he leaves the mountain carrying a traveling bag. But as he does so, he stubs his toe on a stone. Bleeding and in great pain, Master Gensa all at once seriously reflects as follows. They say this body is not real existence. Where does this pain come from? He thereupon returns to Seppo, his teacher. Seppo asks him, what is it, be of the Duta? That's just a nickname. We don't need to worry about that. Gensa says, in the end, I just cannot be deceived by others. Seppo, loving these words very much, says, is there anyone who does not have these words inside them, but is there anyone who can speak these words? Okay. That's where I'm going to stop here because that's the part I want to talk about. The part about not being deceived by others. So, Nishijima Roshi's footnote on that sentence goes like this. Let's see. The expression is ironic. Master Gensa makes it sound as if he would like to be able to learn from others, but in the end it is impossible. He cannot be satisfied with second-hand knowledge, but only by experiencing things for himself. That's how Nishijima Roshi translates it with Mike Cross. But before I go on with my spiel, I want to tell you how other people have translated it, so hang on a sec. Okay, my eye line is going to go weird because I'm looking at something on the screen here. Shohaku Okumura, who I also respect a great deal, translates Xuansha, which is the same as Gensha, it's just the way you pronounce it in Chinese. He uses the Chinese pronunciation. He translates it as, I never deceive others. And he says that this indicates the flame of the 3 poisonous minds was extinguished for Xuansha. It happened when he clearly saw the emptiness of his own body and mind at the moment of his toe hitting a stone. As a result, he would no longer deceive anyone. He was truly who he was. He was no longer deceived by the stories created through contact of the 5 aggregates and their objects, Namarupa. That's Sanskrit. His not deceiving others also meant he realized there is no separation between self and others. He realized there's no self which deceives others and no other beings who can be deceived. This means the self and all beings in this world truly become one seamless reality. All separation between subject and object ceases. This is the same reality expressed in the saying, when there is no self, there is nothing that is not self. Okay? Sorry for my eye line going all weird when I was reading that off the screen. Let's see some other translations. Let's see. This is Thomas Cleary, and he translates the line in question as, "I never dare fool people." Okay, so there's that one, and here's Kazuaki Tanahashi. This appears in Treasury of the True Dharma I, Volume 1, or in just the regular volume of the 1 Volume 1, whatever. He has it as, "No one can be fooled." By the way, just in case you're working this out for yourself, here's where you can find the Thomas Cleary translation, Classics of Buddhism and Zen, Volume 2. Okay? Now, just to really confuse you, let's look at the Nishiyama and Stevens translation of Shobogenzo. Note that I'm saying Nishiyama. So many times when I say Nishiyama, people think I'm saying Nishijima. Nishiyama was a different person. He has Seppo asking, "Did you go on a pilgrimage just to cut your foot and have a hard time?" Which is a really different translation. And Gensha answers, "Please don't kid me." So, and just to really confuse the heck out of you, here is what, this is Yuho Yokoi. Don't look for this book. You won't find it. It took me forever to find it. I think there must be like 3 copies now floating around, but I managed to find one of them. Anyhow, he translates it also completely differently. He has the master saying, "Which is the true Shipei," which I guess is Gensha. I don't know why he does it Shipei. He answered, "Surely I am none but Shipei." So totally different answer. And I'll show you what it is in Chinese. Here is, I hope I'm showing this on the screen, what it says in Chinese. The characters, if we parse them out, are the first one end, as in the end, the next one not, fu, not, next one deliberately or dare, the next one cheat or deceive, the following one is a preposition in, to, at, for, on, or of, depending on the context, and the last one is people. And Shohaku Okumura gives his version, his translation into contemporary, or not contemporary, but Zoganish Japanese as "Tsui ni aete hito o tabura kasazu," which would be directly translated as "in the end, I don't deceive other people," or "I dare not deliberately deceive other people." So you're completely confused. I happen to like very much Nishijima Roshi's version of it. And given all the pile of translations I just gave you, my feeling is, and having talked to some people who speak Chinese about this a while ago, that it could be taken either way. It could be taken as, I don't deceive others, or I am not deceived by others. And even Okumura Roshi kind of says that in his commentary that I just read you. So I can't be deceived by others, and I cannot deceive others. Well, what's this all about? I can't be deceived by others seems to me to be a crucial point. That's a weird gesture, sorry. In all of this stuff. And I'll tell you how I take it. So, for whatever that's worth. Throughout my life, or throughout my seeking life, seeking the Dharma, seeking the truth, my first way of doing it was to imagine that there must be somebody who had the truth, somebody who's not me, who has the truth, who's out there, who I can ask. And I was lucky early on in my life, at age 18 or 19, to run into a Zen teacher. I've talked about him a lot, Tim McCarthy. And I remember one conversation I had with him. I was trying to figure out what he knew. I thought he was being kind of, what's the word for it? I thought he was hiding something from me. I thought he knew something and he just wasn't going to tell me. Because that's how Zen teachers can seem to be sometimes. And it took me a long time to realize that no, they're being exactly the opposite. They're laying everything out like I do all the time, every 3 times a week on these videos. I give you everything I know, like everything. And still people respond to me like, oh, you're holding something back. No, I'm not holding anything back, and neither was Tim. And I said something to him like, oh, you know, you understand, you've been through all this. And he said, I haven't been through anything. Meaning you have to figure this out yourself. I cannot be deceived by others, and I cannot deceive others. So we're trying as much as possible to figure out what's going on by asking others. And one of the main ways we do that is we try to figure out who's the expert. Who's the fact checker, if we want to put it in contemporary internet-y terms. But, there's experts. There's experts in all kinds of things. And we go to the expert and say, hey, expert, tell me what's going on. Tell me what's the deal. And the answer you always get is, here's what I think as an expert, but you got to figure it out for yourself. Or if you meet one of the really bad experts, of whom there are plenty, especially these days, they'll try to tell you what it is and try to make you believe what they believe. But a good expert, an honest expert in whatever he or she is an expert in, will tell you, this is what I think, this is how I perceive it, this is my experience, this is what I've drawn in and what I've got to offer you. Now here you figure it out. And especially in the area of so-called spirituality or Zen or seeking the truth or whatever phrase you want to put around it, that's how it goes. You got to figure it out. You know already. This one bright pearl is, well, there's a lot of theories about what the metaphor actually refers to, but one of the main ones, and one of the things I think, is that the bright pearl is yourself. The bright pearl, the Mani jewel, is a jewel that reflects everything, reflects it perfectly. But somehow we get deceived. We get deceived by others out there, and we get deceived by others within ourselves. We deceive ourselves. We try to assemble something in our brain that is me, and then we let this imperfect, weird construction, this me, decide what's true. And sometimes we ask our internal me what the deal is. And just in the same way that it's important not to be deceived by others who are out there, you don't want to be deceived by the other, in quotes, that's the internal other, that's the what we call it, the small self, the individual ego self that we create, that is kind of another other. It's kind of another thing you can refer to, another expert you can refer to, an expert in being you, maybe. I don't know what the internal expert is an expert in. But we ask that expert what the deal is and try to figure out it that way. But it's actually much more direct. Don't be deceived by others. Don't be deceived by anyone, including yourself. And what Gensa says, at least in the Nishijima Cross translation, is I cannot be deceived by others. It's impossible for me to be deceived by others. No matter what those others, or the other that is me, the kind of conceptual me, the ego me, whatever that other is telling us, is also not going to be reliable. So we can't be deceived by it. We might want to be deceived. Let's see, get back to my original train of thought. Sorry, folks. We can't be deceived by others. What is true, no matter what framework we put in it in our own minds, whether it's received by the expert out there or by the internal expert in here. So we cannot be deceived. So there you go. Don't be deceived by others. Don't even be deceived by me. That's important. But if you want to help me deceive others, you can send a donation to the URL that you're seeing on the screen below here, about here on the screen. That is my only way of making a living, and I'm not deceiving you when I say that. And even when things are going and I'm touring and everything, that is still my number one. Like over 75% or more of my income comes from these donations that I get from you folks at home. So I really, really appreciate your continuing donations. But if you don't want to donate, you don't have to donate. I offer this for free. I just tell you that you can donate if you want to, and I really appreciate that. Have a good time all the time. See you later. Don't be deceived. Bye.
Hey, Ziggy. Can you be deceived by others? There's no way you can be deceived. No, you can be deceived by others. But I try not to deceive you. See you there, Ziggy. Bye.